Hello everyone, welcome to Valuethon 3. This is Waveland, my name is Stllr, and I'm going to be running any percent for you all today. Any percent is just complete every in-game level that has a shard, meaning I'll be skipping the coin machines. And yeah, I hope you enjoy the run that I'm about to do. I've been given the okay to count off, so I'll be starting the run in 3, 2, 1, now. Waveland is a game that was pretty much created off the concept of what if we put popular movement tech from Super Smash Bros. Melee known as wave dashing into a platformer. Some different techs were also added as a result, such as ledge dashing for speed boosts, which let you do some kind of creative things with jumping. The shine was implemented, as you'll see later, and really I just think it's a really fun and interesting platformer, which is why I'm showing it off for you all today. So starting off here, we are in the tutorial. In the tutorial, right off the bat, you have a couple abilities, mainly the ability to jump and dash. You can control the height and momentum of your jumps, and you can dash in the way that I'm playing. You can dash off of, you can dash in any direction, meaning all 360 angles. There is a version of Waveland. There is a setting that you can toggle called locked dash angles, which basically locks your angle to horizontal, vertical, or straight diagonal. And that is actually surprisingly not completely unviable. Some of the better Waveland runners, including one that's better than myself, uses locked angles. So that's a little interesting bit of trivia for you there. Now, Waveland kind of... there are 6 levels in each world, and there are 6 worlds in total. The levels are scattered across each world, kind of in a Kirby's Adventure style. Checkpoints are checkpoints, as you've just seen me demonstrate there. There are 2 different kinds of ledge dashes. The kind of ledge dash where you get a black ripple effect, and the kind of ledge dash where you get a white ripple effect. Now, the difference between these two is only in speed. Black is just a little bit faster, but white is still fast enough to be optimal over just jumping off the ledge. Waveland has actually never been shown off at a marathon before, and I'm very honored to be able to show it all for you today. As you'll notice, at the end of every level, we collect a shard. It says shard obtained. These are the shards of nightmares, and the nightmares are little in-between worlds. You could almost consider them the level bosses of each world. Basically, the plot of this game is that the darkness has overtaken the world, and you, as a box with the ability to wave dash, are the most qualified individual to save the world. And what you need to do is assemble the nightmare memories of those that have instilled darkness, and basically kind of remove all negativity from the world. So I think that's kind of interesting. Something else that's interesting about ledge dashing is that you are only allowed 1 dash, and you are only allowed 1 jump. However, if you dash off of a ledge instead of jumping off of one, a little up arrow will appear in the bottom part of the screen to let you know that you do still have the ability to jump. 1-6 is the first level of its kind. Every single Dash 6 level in the game is an orb collection level, in which the memory shard is deactivated until you collect all of the orbs. They're fun, they're interesting to route. The routing actually can differ depending on if you're getting the coin or not, if you have all the abilities yet or not. Lots of different fun and interesting ways to route those kind of levels. Now, as you can see, I have not done all these levels in order. In fact, the very last level that I'm doing is 1-2. That's just because sometimes it's faster to not do them in order. There are very many interesting hub world layouts in this game, and that makes them kind of a little fun routing challenge in and of themselves in a similar way to the Dash 6s. So nightmares themselves, I didn't really touch on them too much yet, but I think they're really, really interesting. They're all black levels with little white borders on the ground and lots of invisible spikes and perilous jumps. That's why they're not timed, they're not ranked. There are coins in them, but they're absolutely not required. Coins in general are used solely on purchasing vessel customizations, so you can change the way your little square person looks. You can make the thing in the middle a different color, you can get a different trail, you can even change what the shape is. Now at the end of every nightmare, you get a gem. This gem shows that you have cleared the corruption in the area, and it can be used to power a machine that takes you to the last level of the game. These gems do not only power the machine though, 2 of them grant you new abilities. The first one is wall jumping. Wall jumping is very, very useful because, as I mentioned earlier, you only get 1 dash in the air, but wall jumping allows you to refresh your dash after you jump off a wall, as the name would imply. So coming up on World 2, this is probably the world that makes the most creative use of wall jumping, as it is the ability that you just got, and they want to give you lots of opportunities to try out your new toy. World 2 is seen as one of the more difficult worlds in the game by speedrunners, because it can be quite punishing just in terms of level design and how it's played. But personally, it is my favorite world. I love this world way too much. There are little blow darts that can be shot at you, and they deal 1 damage to you. You can take 2 hits before you die. And while you're dashing, you are actually invincible. This is a trait that has been carried over from Smash Bros. Melee, and I think it's been used a lot more interestingly here. As you may see coming up in this, I may mess it up, but there is a way... I didn't get it, but there is a way to wall jump off of a saw blade and not get affected by the fact that you just got hit by a saw blade. Because you can take advantage of the invincibility frames that you get from dashing. Now 2-4, 2-4 is one of the more difficult levels, I'd say, in the game. I would easily call it one of the most difficult levels in the game. And it's so difficult that I just almost failed the backup strat. As you can see, I collected a coin, and there's spaghetti all over the floor, but it's fine. A lot of the joy of Waveland is that every mistake except death only results in a time loss of a couple seconds max. So as bad as that was, I only lost about like 5 to 6 seconds total. Now here's the only real damage boost in the game. You hit the saw blades in order to avoid scaling a wall just because it's faster. And here's the most fun ledge dash in the game. You just get to kind of weave through everything just because of how the level flows and the abilities that you have. Now, I haven't really explained dash refresh gems. Again, something that I've touched on is the fact that you only get 1 dash when you're in the air, but there are little white diamonds that when you touch them, they actually give you your dash back without you needing to touch the ground, which is really useful. They also have some pretty interesting properties in the way that they maintain the speed that you have going into them. And they're really fun. You can do some pretty interesting things with them, and I will definitely have opportunities to show that off later in the run. Now, coming up here is where you will get what a lot of people will argue is the most game-changing ability in the whole game. But to get through it, you have to get through one of the more difficult platforming levels in the game as well. I think this level is regarded by many to have the most difficult coin. And this section right here, I didn't mess it up. That's good. And gem hitboxes are pretty big. So we get the shine ability. Now, part of dashing that I haven't really spoken about yet is the fact that it is the fastest method of movement in the game. However, when you dash at the end, you get completely stopped. It completely halts all of your momentum. Now, the reason the shine is so important and so powerful is that basically it halts your vertical momentum, but completely keeps your horizontal momentum. And you can use that to not only stop yourself from falling, but if you combine that with a dash like so, you actually don't get any of the momentum drop, and you just stay at the highest speed that a dash will let you keep. Now, 3-4 is probably the level that makes the most use of it in the entire game. And it also showcases 2 new objects. Turrets, and actually 3 new objects. Turrets, bomb blocks, and killable tiles, as I like to call them. Killable tiles can actually be removed by bomb blocks, turret fire, and icicles, which we will not run into in this world, but you will see before too long. Yeah, basically, yeah. Turrets lock onto you, and you can use the shine to reflect their projectile right back at them, but I don't really need to worry about them too much right there. I can just go completely under where all of them hide out. There is a decent bit of turret manipulation in individual levels, but it can be a little bit inconsistent sometimes. Some runs do use them, but personally, I do not use a lot of the turret manipulation, at least not yet. The strats for me are just a little bit too inconsistent, but with enough practice, they're definitely achievable. And that's something that I really love about this game, is just how many different little techniques that you can pick up and use in order to truly become the best. Which I, personally speaking, would not consider myself, but it's definitely fun to try. And even if you don't consider yourself the best, you can still get some nice high leaderboard positions, which is always good to shoot for. Not too long ago, a profile feature was added to Waveland to show you your average rank on all the leaderboard levels. And it's really fun to try to push down your total in-game time and also see how low of an average rank you can get. Now, coming up on 3-6, I'd like to call this one of the most difficult orb collection levels in the game, just because there are so many little things to mess up. So right here is some turret manipulation that you can do. You can get that turret to shoot down a barricade that I instead used a bomb block to break. And I'm very happy that went well. There have been runs recently where that's taken me upwards of 25 seconds, so to get it in under 20 is really reassuring. Oh yeah, the third nightmare is a little bit infamous. There are 4 achievements in this game, and the logo for one of the 4 of them, probably the one that the least people that have played this game have, is a creature that you'll only encounter in the third nightmare. We like to call him Richie, and he likes to chase you. If he touches you, it's instant death. The only thing that stops him are the lights that the flowers give. And the lights that the flowers give are actually not only useful for stunning Richie, but they're also useful for showing where the spikes are if you're not familiar with a nightmare level. Luckily, he was pretty nice to me today, but he's been known to be pretty ruthless. Now, the reason I was able to go through the red gem cutscene so fast is because it doesn't have a new ability to explain. Something that's really nice about Waveland is that after World 2, you actually can pretty much tackle the entire rest of the game. You have every ability that you will unlock by that point. It does make any percent runs kind of interesting, because at first you have no abilities, and in World 2 you only have wall jump, but as soon as you're done World 2 you have every ability that the game will ever give you. Now this level got pretty broken by a man named Swisha. Normally you're supposed to go through the castle and blow up a couple bombs to get rid of barriers, but Swisha decided instead that he wanted to try jumping over the wall because he didn't understand how people got through the bomb puzzle so fast, and realized he'd accidentally skipped 10 seconds. So you can thank him for that one. Now right here I am going to show off the fastest speed you can naturally achieve in the game aside from falling. That was 7 speed, and it was really fast. It went by really quickly. It was me shining and then immediately dashing right onto the ice, and it's as fast as you can go because it is the speed of a dash, except it's not hindered by the maximum speed that the shine can keep, or the fact that the dash does stop itself after a while. So here's a real first encounter with icicles. If they fall on you, you do take 1 hit point of damage, but after they've fallen, you can use them as platforms, and you can also use them to break through the breakable blocks. An interesting feature about ice, which you may see in a couple levels, is that you actually cannot wall jump off of it. This makes it a little bit interesting in terms of how you have to go through some levels, and requires you to take some different paths. Something that this level does showcase rather well are instant death spikes. Luckily, I've passed all of the ones that really threaten me. But there are, even though you can take 3 hits from most enemies and most projectiles in the game, if you touch instant death spikes, as seen in the nightmares and in, I believe it's every world past 4, you will die instantly. And you can see some of those here. Now there is a little bit of an interesting tech that you can do. The killable blocks, as they're breaking, you can actually ledge dash off of them, and that can lead to quite some interesting shenanigans. I meant to show that off in 3-4, but unfortunately I wasn't able to get the turrets to cooperate. But it was fine. I will be showing the ledge dash off again right here. Oh, and I got it. Yeah, dash refreshers are pretty fun. If you ledge dash into them, they just completely maintain your really, really fast speed and just let you zoom straight through all of them. The 4th nightmare is pretty short. It's one of the shortest nightmares in the game. I actually think it might be the shortest nightmare in the game, just because of the nature of it. You're supposed to go up and then complete a little section where you navigate through spikes, but Fishy discovered that you actually can just ledge dash off that, and suddenly you don't need to go through the above area anymore. Now, keys do autopath to doors. There is no way to make them go faster or slower, which is why, what's it called? That's why, really the important part of most of the nightmares that have keys is just actually getting the key for itself. Now, this is the first world since World 1 that we don't teleport back to World 1 after we complete it, and that's because World 5 and World 4 are right beside each other. World 5 is a very interesting world. Down here in the bottom is the Temple of Techno, and the Temple of Techno has the tightest S times in the game, except for maybe a couple levels in World 6, but I would say that this world as a whole just has the tightest ones. They're very difficult to get, especially casually. Luckily, that level plays nice. Sometimes it can be a little bit nasty. The World 5 levels can actually... They have quite a habit of being really, really angry at you for reasons unknown. Here's a level that really showcases not only how shines can be used to stop you from falling, but how they can stop you from rising. If I hadn't shined where I did, I actually would have been launched by those boost pads directly into spikes. And here's another opportunity where I can show that off. If I hadn't shined there, I would have been shot way higher in the air and had to wait to fall back down. This level really makes sure you know how to wall jump. I love this game. There's so many little level things that are just like, hey, do you remember this mechanic you got? Are you ready to do it for the entire level? 5-6 is an interesting one. The point of 5-6 is basically wavelanding itself as a concept. The faster times of the level require you to waveland off of platforms you haven't even had the chance to properly really align yourself with. And it's just also lots of black dashing as well. 5-4 can be a little bit tricky as well. 5-4 and 5-1 are... I wouldn't consider 5-4 to be one of the most difficult levels, but I would definitely consider 5-1 to be. And because I just said that, 5-4 is going to destroy me. 5-4 also shows off some turret manipulation, although not in this category. It shows it off in all coins. Because there is a category in which we do attempt to get every single coin in the game. It is very, very fun. I would call it one of the more loved categories by runners. And you do have to use a turret to break through killable blocks, and it saves 10 seconds or more. Now, the reason that I would consider 5-1 to be difficult is because of those two wavelands that you just saw happen. Those are incredibly timing specific to do, and that's why I only got white dashes instead of black dashes off of them. But luckily, World 5 as a whole played pretty nice. The World 5 Nightmare is pretty funny, because originally it started off as this difficult sequence where you had to get through a maze of spikes in order to get to a key, but it was found out rather early on that you could skip the spike sequence and just get the key, and a month or two later it was found out that you can just skip the door that the key unlocks. So yeah, it's a pretty fun one. And that is the last gem that we need to collect in order to go up to World 6. Now, World 6. World 5 may have the most difficult S times and some of the most difficult levels, but World 6 takes some of those levels and laughs in their face. The very first level in World 6, I would wager a bet to call it the most difficult level, like the most mechanically intensive level in the entire game. There is a skip that you can do there, and I was debating doing it, but at the last minute I just didn't feel confident enough to do it. Not even the current world record uses it in the run, though, just for reference, to show you how difficult some of the skips used in individual levels are in this game. But that was a pretty solid 6-1. I'm pretty happy with it. 6-2 is definitely the black sheep of World 6 because of how... I'm not going to call it easier for fear that it's going to destroy me, but because of almost how much the difficulty of the mechanics steps off, and it just makes sure that you understand what you're doing from a gameplay standpoint. But 6-3 ramps it right back up. If you thought 5-5 tested your wall jumping skills, 6-3 makes you fully understand the practical application of them. Okay. I tried to do something a little bit fancy. There we go. I got it second try. And you shine here, and you don't have to hit the ground. I did one more wall jump than I should have, just to be safe. And we are coming up on the last couple levels of the game, but this is the gauntlet. 6-4, 6-5, and 6-6, even 6-3 really, could easily kill any run. So if you hear me be quiet randomly, that would be why. Also, when you have a timer in your run, seeing, like, if you're over 27 minutes by this point, most of the time the run doesn't look very hopeful. But I probably am, unfortunately, but I think this is still, it still has the chance to go pretty well. And when I say hopeful, really, I mean hopeful for a sub 30-minute run, which is the coveted, I'd almost call it the holy grail of the category right now. Only 4 runners currently have it. Myself, Koisoy, a runner from Britain, Fishy, a runner from America, and Cause, another runner from America. And there are almost 20 runs, if I remember correctly, that have been submitted for the category. So the fact that only 4 have gotten it is pretty remarkable. Six is definitely easier than 6-4 and 6-5, which I'm very happy didn't go as horribly as they could have. You'll notice that I did actually restart on 6-4 before, and instead of just dying, and that's because 6-4 has the tightest shard time in the game, bar none. There was a period of time when just getting an S rank alone was enough to get you a top 10 time on the level, because of how difficult the shard time and the S rank time are. But luckily it was only one reset for 6-4, and I didn't even die on 6-5. So hopefully that means good things for the end of this level and the final boss. Now the final the final nightmare that I'll be transcending here, for the first couple weeks that I had the game, I actually thought that this final boss was unwinnable. Now this was during a time that I thought, like, I didn't know about canceling your dashes with Shine, although it was actually a tech so widely known that it was used in a developer update for the Kickstarter backing of this game. But I thought it was scripted to be unwinnable, and I just wasn't hitting a trigger properly. And we're coming up on the final boss now. Right here is the sword. It replaces your shine. Basically the final boss just kind of takes a couple hits from the sword, and it likes to actually retreat in the direction that you hit it. And that's time. I hope you all enjoyed the run of Waveland that I just completed. I apologize for not giving that much notice about when time was. But yeah, this is Waveland. I hope you all enjoyed the run. I hope it wasn't too slow. My goal for this marathon was to get a sub 32, and hopefully I did that. I actually have no idea, but I really hope you enjoyed it. I hope I was entertaining and informative, at least informative so that you would understand what the heck the square is doing all over your screen. And yeah, thanks for tuning in.
Alright, we'll get the next run set up here then. So I'll go ahead and close out of that. Great run.